Hey y'all, and welcome back to Rebel with a Cause, Call to the Case, where we bring God's light into the darkest corners of injustice. Today we're starting part one of a two-part series, and this case has haunted North Carolina and countless hearts for over 2 decades. A 9-year-old girl leaving the safety of her home in the middle of a cold and stormy night. This is her story. Asha Degree was a bright light in her community and her family. Born on August 5, 1990 in Shelby, North Carolina, she was the second child of Harold and Aqua Degree, loving and hardworking parents who did everything they could to raise their children right. Faith was central in the Degree household. The family attended church regularly, and Harold and Aqua were strict but loving, keen on keeping their children protected from the world and its dangers. That meant limited TV time, no internet access, and a tight-knit family circle. Asha was described as shy, soft-spoken, but wise beyond her years. She loved school, especially math and reading, and she played basketball on her school's team. She kept her grades up too. She was just 9 years old, but in many ways, she carried herself like someone older, responsible and polite. But she was still a little girl, and Asha loved stuffed animals and reading The Whipping Boy and playing with her brother O'Brien, who was just 11 months older than her. They shared a bedroom, and they were practically inseparable. Her parents say she wasn't the kind of child who wandered off. She was afraid of the dark and dogs. That's what makes what happened next so chilling. It's February 13th, 2000, a Sunday. It started off like any other day. It was a church day, and the Degrees were up early. After service, they went to visit Aquila's mother and returned home after the service. That evening, Asha's basketball team had a game, and unfortunately they lost. Asha had fouled out. Her mom recalls how upset she was over the loss. She blamed herself, and she cried a little bit about it. But by bedtime, she seemed to have let it go, and nothing else seemed out of the ordinary. No major arguments, no signs of distress. The family went to bed around 8 p.m. Asha and O'Brien shared their room, like they usually do. Around 12:30 a.m., Harold had checked on them after returning home from work. Both children were fast asleep. But on February 14th, 2000, sometime between 2:30 and 3 a.m., something unthinkable happened. Asha had quietly gotten out of bed, packed a bag, and slipped out into the night. No one had heard her, no one had seen her, but it was cold and raining and pitch black. She was scared of the dark. A powerful storm had even knocked out the power in parts of the area. Despite that, 2 separate motorists had reported seeing a young girl matching Asha's description, walking alone down Highway 18 around 3:45 a.m. She was wearing long pants, a white shirt, and a backpack. One driver turned around concerned, but when he approached the girl, she darted off into the woods. That was the last known sighting of Asha Degree. At 6:30 a.m., Aquila had gotten up to get the kids out of bed, but Asha's bed was empty. She first thought Asha maybe had gone to her grandmother's house just across the street, but no one had seen her. Panic set in fast. By 6:45 a.m., the police were called, and within hours, the community had mobilized. Hundreds of volunteers combed the woods, ditches, and rural roadsides. Tracking dogs were brought in, but they couldn't pick up a strong scent. Police found a few personal items in a shed about a mile from the Degree home. A pencil, a candy wrapper, and a Mickey Mouse hair bow that Asha's parents confirmed belonged to her. But there was still no sign of Asha herself. The FBI was called. Local law enforcement partnered with the SBI and national organizations to circulate Asha's photo. Billboards went up, interviews were conducted, but no one could answer the burning question: why did Asha leave, and where did she go? Over a year later, in August 2001, a construction crew found something strange while digging off of Highway 18 in Burke County. Inside of a plastic bag was a backpack, and inside that backpack were Asha's school papers, some clothes, and a copy of The Whipping Boy, the very book she'd recently been reading at school. The backpack was buried. It was 30 miles away from her home. This discovery reopened more questions. Who buried the bag? Why was it so far away? And was Asha still alive? Asha Degree didn't just vanish without a trace, but the clues she left behind only make more confusion. A bright, cautious little girl walked out into a storm, leaving everything behind: family, safety, warmth, and over 25 years later, she still hasn't walked back. In part 2 of this case, we'll explore deeper theories, the secret contacts, the chilling leads, and the shocking tip that surfaced over a decade later. We'll examine what the FBI believes and why they think that she was lured away that night. Until next time, stay strong, stay hopeful, and stay called. And don't forget that justice delayed does not mean justice is denied. Thank you so much for joining me for another Rebel with a Cause called to the case. Goodbye.